Hey, Chuck.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How are you?
Believe it or not, I'm hot. It's been warm here today. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was warm here. So now we have 45-mile-an-hour winds and it's dropped like 30 degrees.
Oh, I'm hoping it. I mean, I've I kind of put summer off to the side and said, okay, that's over for this year. And no, it's not.
Nope. Very cool. Cool.
Alexa or Echo, cancel.
What were you going to buy, Chuck? What were you going to buy?
I should have bought my Mac Mini because now the ship dates for the M4 Pro with 1 terabyte is down pushed out to November 18th.
Really?
The A lady insisted on just telling me about the Oklahoma elections. I have no idea why.
You're
What am I
not an
gonna?
Okie from Muskogee?
No, I'm afraid not. No. Um, what am I going to buy? That's a great question. Um, I don't know if you looked at the article I put in the Mac
Yeah.
Voices Slack, but that pretty much says that I have to get an M4 Max
Hmm.
of some kind, and I've got to sit down and do some comparisons of dollars and cents, but I'm still fighting over the 16 inch versus the 14 inch, and mentally.
Yeah.
So, but that's going to make everything very expensive.
Yes, indeed.
So I've got to check on trade-in values and seeing what a kidney's worth. And
I get 230 for my Mac M1 Mac Minis.
hmm. Oh shoot, I got to get the notes up here. Okay.
Mr. Gamut
How's it going?
going.
Gone.
I'm so glad it's Thursday, Friday soon.
When Dave called, I had my Halloween all planned. It's like popcorn and one of my favorite Halloween movies. And then
Nightmare
it's like,
Before Christmas? This is Halloween.
No.
This is Halloween. Oh.
no,
What's your
no.
favorite Halloween movie?
Um, it sort of goes. There's three, but I think for Halloween there's one. But
Die
they're all
Hard?
John. They're all no, they're all John Carpenter movies. Prince of Darkness has got to be number one,
Mm,
starring Alice Cooper. I mean, how can
that's
you
a,
go wrong?
yeah.
The Thing by John Carpenter
Yeah. Yep.
and They Live by John Carpenter.
Nice.
My favorite Halloween movie it is The Devil Wears Prada. Yeah.
Is that because your wife buys Prada?
No,
Marty?
no. I don't have TCM is playing the old classics. So like Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula was this afternoon. So I'm more into that. Well, I think the one that I've enjoyed the most that's most recent is House in the Woods.
Okay.
But, or Cabin in the Woods, excuse me. Cabin in the Woods.
Good choices. Good choices.
And then I listened to it was a 2 hour long podcast called What Went Wrong. And the episode was on Evil Dead, which is kind of a cult following film.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's get really scary and hear what Jeff Gammett's favorite Halloween movies are.
Uh,
A
actually,
chorus line?
Nightmare. Yeah,
Chorus
a chorus line, Camelot. No, Nightmare Before Christmas seriously is right up there. I think it's a fantastic movie. The Thing is a great movie to throw in that mix. And since we're going down the actual horror, not gore path, I'm going to throw Alien in there.
Oh,
That's one of
good
the
choice.
last true horror movies that was ever made.
That's a really good choice.
Yep. All right.
I'm with you, Jeff. I can't, the gore thing, I mean, it's okay for what it is, but after a while, it just became so gratuitous.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it was all about shock and not about horror and actually scaring you. And part of what makes Alien work so well is that you go through the whole movie and it's finally at the end where you actually see the alien, but you still only get quick cut shots of it.
yeah.
And it's so well done.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have to say Halloween. I mean, I like Halloween, the first one. The first one, because the timing of that one was you were waiting for Michael Myers to jump out and you knew he was going to do it and it didn't happen. And then a couple beats later, you just sat back and relaxed and bang, they hit you. And that I always thought that was brilliant. But then after that, it just went to gore and, formula.
Yes. So related to that, Netflix has a series called I think it's called How They Were Made.
I'm sorry,
Or-
say again.
How They Were Made.
Mm.
It's about movies. And it's how specific movies were made. And it's like how was Back to the Future made? How was Dirty Dancing made? And they do one on Halloween.
Hmm.
And it's absolutely fascinating to watch that one because they they were totally flying by the seat of their pants to get that movie made and done. And they even point out effects in the movie, and they say, so what we did here to break this window, we didn't have time to set up anything really fancy, so we just have a guy on the other side of the wall, and he takes a wrench and hits the window. And they don't edit that so that it appears to be what it's actually supposed to be. But it doesn't matter because you're watching the movie, and when you see the window break, your mind fills in exactly what you're supposed to see. But when they show in the hour-long documentary, if you will, about the making of the movie, they have a still, and you can see the wrench, and you can see the guy's hand. But if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, you
And
don't.
Jeff, if you've seen Evil Dead, you should listen to this podcast episode. What Went Wrong? I think is the name of the podcast. But it basically it's early Sam Raimi,
Okay.
way pre-Spider-Man. This was one of his first films out of college. And it talks about the process they went through for financing it, all the trouble that they had, the fact that they wound up thinking they were going to shoot in a warmer climate, and it turned out to be a freezing fall in Tennessee. All the kind of things that were problems, but it's fascinating how they dealt with it, and then eventually what happened with it.
All right, I need to see that, or
Hear it.
listen to that.
Yeah, agreed.
Just look at your phone when you play it.
Yeah, in a sense, I could see it. I will see it in the theater of the mind.
Yes. All right, let's go ahead and get started.
I thought we did.
Go. And that. Okay, I'm ready.
Chuck's Mystery Underpants. Woo, hoo, hoo, ha,
Ooh.
ha.
Pre.
One
In 5,
pair of underpants. 2
4.
pair of underpants.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
Serious. Do you know your camera's off?
It is? Oh, how'd that happen?
I don't know, but I thought if you're starting the show, you might.
Yeah, I might want to do that. I didn't do it. I don't know why not.
You know,
I
if your
didn't click
camera
it.
had been on, I wouldn't have been screwing around like this.
Oh, okay. There we go. Now for real. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 330 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, Vision Pro, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my guest this week is Chuck Joyner. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing great, Dave. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween to you. We're recording on Halloween evening. I think the trick-or-treaters have subsided here, at least here anyway. Well, I don't know about your house, but maybe another hour yet. But East Coast, it's past 8 o'clock, so it's probably past their bedtime anyway. But also here is Marty Jensen. How you doing, Marty?
I'm doing good. Actually, our Halloween is celebrated on Sunday before for 2 hours. And,
Orthodox Halloween.
It's a little different. You know, if you want to participate, you turn your porch light on. If you don't, you turn your porch light off and close the curtains. And but it's a community event. Everybody goes everywhere.
My porch light
but
was
they've
off
got 2
and
hours to
graves
do
closed.
it. Yeah.
My porch light was off, so.
And Marty, you
And,
made me look. I thought, did I close my curtains? Yeah.
And Jeff Gamet is here as well. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great, and as soon as we're done recording, I'm going to be on Chuck's porch with my big pillowcase. And Chuck, I'm expecting full-size candy bars, no more of that fun-size crap like last year.
Apples, Jeff. That's what you're going to get is apples.
Yeah.
Maybe
We'll go with apples.
maybe a
At least
carrot
it's-
or two.
At least it's not rocks.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's. So we got lots to talk about this week. Apple did announce their earnings call. It never fails. And we do a show on Thursday nights. That their quarterly earnings are always that afternoon. So we're fresh in our minds here to talk about that. In touch with Vision Pro, we got some stuff for that, and we're going to have a little bit of an in touch with Mac this week because there was just so many announcements on the Mac. Why not? We can talk about what was announced out there and just all kinds of other stuff here. So, but we always start off with Vision Pro. Apple did release Vision Pro 2.1, the final version that came out earlier this week. So we record it is a little month after the launch of Vision OS 2 and 8 months after the release of the headset itself. So it can be downloaded by navigating to the Settings app, General section, and choosing that Software Updates option. And the good thing to know is to install the update, the Vision Pro headset needs to be removed. And then there's a progress bar showing on the front eye sight display. So you don't have to have it on your head while it's upgrading. So Marty, have you seen anything different here? They're not saying much, if at all, of any much difference.
Really no significant difference. Everybody's waiting for the Mac Virtual Display to come out, and rumors have pushed it out to 2.2. So
Okay.
we'll see what happens with that. But that's going to be the game changer, I think, for a lot of folks having Mac Virtual Display with those potential large displays with it.
Yeah, I've been using it with the Mac display, but it's not as big as it should be, I guess. And it should improve with as they continue to talk about that. So the other story we had here was the Vision Pro is going to get announced, is launching in 2 more countries next month. That is in South Korea and United Arab Emirates, the UAE, on November 15th. There was a press release about it's going to be pre-orders there in South Korea on Monday, November 4th. And another press release, Apple said the pre-orders for the United Arab Emirates will start the same day of their local time. So it's good to see other countries are being added. And yeah, that's all I can say on that. Unless you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think that's going to be big. Both of those countries are very much tied into technology and new technology. And I think it's going to be a big market for them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And lastly, there was a VPN was released that is now going to be supporting has Vision Pro support. Proton VPN launched its native Apple TV app as well as it added Vision Pro support. yesterday, as we record this, they on October 30th, Proton did release that native Apple TV app, allowing users to access VPN services directly on their Apple TV, following tvOS's introduction of 17 introduction of built-in VPN support last year. It's also going to be compatible with the Vision Pro. They're saying that with the Apple TV app, it's going to be one of the most expected and requested features for everybody to have VPN. I'm not sure what if any benefit it's going to be on Vision Pro. What do you think, Marty?
I don't see much benefit from it other than I can hide what versions of Star Trek I'm looking at the moment from the general public.
Yeah. So
here's where I see value in that, and it's not today. As Vision Pro evolves and gets more pro apps for it, and we start seeing people use this as their primary computer, which I think is something that Apple wants, then having a functional VPN available on Vision Pro becomes more important for business users.
Yeah, I think the next show we're going to cover an article that was about Fortune, top 10 Fortune companies are using Apple Vision Pro. And they have public apps for that purpose. But the bigger news really is that there are a lot of Fortune 500 companies that are using it, but they have their own enterprise apps that they're doing and using it for. And that's where VPNs come in probably significant.
That makes sense.
Yeah, makes total sense. So that's Vision Pro for this week. We are streaming live as we record this on youtube.com/intouchwithios. Great to see Paul Burry out there on the chat. Great to have you out here as well. We got some people in the chat watching us as we record. Appreciate everybody being here. We're having lots of fun here. So let's go on and move on to beta this week. iOS 18.2 beta 1 was released last week. There's of course, this is all updates to Apple Intelligence, adding things like the Playground and Genmoji, and the Image Playground. You'll be able to, that's a Playground app, and messages integration will create stylus images based on prompts and images of you and your friends. So a lot of other added things here. Apple Arcade is going to have an all games section with a new drop down. The mail app categorization is going to be available. Voice memos will now have 2 tracks and can be layered on top of another. Also an option to separate the layers to the digital mixes. And lots of other things. There is going to be, this of course is only supported on iPhone 15 Pro and higher. So all of iPhone 16 and iPhone 15 Pro. Your running beta is 18.2. Marty, what are you seeing so far?
Nothing. Because one of the big problems that's going on with it now is everybody wants to get into Visual Playground. And like Apple Intelligence, it was much easier. You flip the switch and maybe an hour, 2 hours later, at the longest, you get permission to get into Visual Playground or into Apple Intelligence. Well, this has Visual Playground on it, and I've been following the reports on it because I have submitted to get into Visual Playground about a week now, waiting for that to happen. And other people are having the same problems. So they're suggesting that Apple's got some either significant problems rolling it out, or they're just working their way through the high demand of trying to give permissions to people to be able to use it. So I wish I could speak more about it. I went on this afternoon and even tried to roll back from developer beta to regular beta and then back to developer beta to see if it would force something or change something. No, I'm still on the wait list.
Okay. Well, be patient. Be patient. I know that's hard for you sometimes. And then they are saying that 18.2 will probably arrive next month in December as we record here. So you will be able to see additional features. And we'll talk about 18.1 a little later in the show. There's so it continues to evolve here. So the big news this week was Apple's earnings. They did announce their Q4 2024 results, $95 billion in revenue, and it it was up 6% versus year to year, and is an all-time and an all-time fourth quarter record. There was a twist. Apple did have to have a one-time charge of 14.8 billion related to Apple lost a long tax case in the European Union. That's a lot of cash, almost half of the quarterly income, in fact. But all in all, Apple's business was relatively flat. iPhone sales were about 6%. Mac sales were about 2%, and which is about how they are been all year. That I can expect them will grow a little bit now that the M4 processors was released, as well as services continue to have a reliable double-digit growth. But the rate did slow to a 12% year over year. So we always link to our friend Jason Snell, and Six Colors has some amazing bar graphs and pie charts and shows us. So right now, iPhone is at about 49% of Apple's business. Then that comes on a close second is not really close, but 26% is services, and then pretty much everything else: the wearables, the Mac, and the iPad. Mac revenue was up at about 7.7 billion. It was about 2%, as I said. iPad was down a little bit, but they did have some newer iPads, so they showed an 8% growth, which was good. As well as iPhone growth, about 46.2 billion, which is continues on. That's about 6%. So all in all, numbers looks real good. Chuck, what was your takeaways from today's announcements on this?
It was interesting. I think it's always interesting. It was Luca Maestri's last call as CFO, and that Tim had some very nice words to say about him, and one or two of the analysts even acknowledged it too. So other than that, the 14 point whatever billion charge taken for the European lawsuit is just. I mean, first of all, that's 14 point something. B with a billion.
Billion.
So that hurts a bit. As Jason pointed out, that's about half of the quarter's take. So it is what it is. That's been going on for a long time, and I guess there was nowhere else to go with it. But other than that, I'm still always intrigued, not just by the results, but by the way that the analysts try to quiz Tim and Luca, and Luca for the last time, about things that if you've been around Apple for not very long, they're not going to answer. They're not going to break down numbers on certain products. They're not going to talk about unannounced products. Why is this a surprise? Why do they waste their time? And so I can be a pretty harsh critic of that, because it just feels like they're trying to do a gotcha and see if they can get somebody to make a mistake, as opposed to asking some relevant questions, if there are relevant questions to be asked. So, I would encourage anyone. They are great about keeping it right at 1 hour. And so if you get the chance, go back and listen to it. And if you listen to it live, of course, it always feels a little more dynamic live, even though you're hearing the same thing. But it is always interesting.
How about you, Jeff?
All right. I'm going to offer a hypothesis on the annoying questions that that get asked that we know aren't going to get an answer. Okay, the people that are asking these questions, generally speaking, they're not fools. So if they're asking them, my assumption is at this point, they're doing it not because they haven't figured out Apple won't answer, but because they have a responsibility to ask the questions that Apple isn't going to answer that maybe some other companies would. And yes, it's annoying, and sure, it would be a lot easier if everyone just accepted this, and there was a section of the Q&A, like right at the beginning, where Apple says, and just to take care of the routine questions, we're not going to answer anything about upcoming products. We're not going to break out any numbers, and then moved on. So that would be kind of cool. But this 14.8 billion, holy forking shirt balls. This is absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, regardless of what Apple did, or in this case didn't do, that seems excessive. Um, but at the back of my mind, the little the that little voice that comes up with stupid ideas and bad jokes is saying, "Yeah, but Apple's got really great accountants, and they're just going to do it as a tax write-off, as a business expense in the
Oh, yeah.
US."
They'll make up for it. And about you, Marty?
As a counselor, I'm trained to take bad situations and reframe them in more positive spins. So my comment on this is, isn't it nice that Apple's profit sharing with the EU now?
That's a good one. That's a good one. One other thing I want to mention is Apple Intelligence, and that's, I think, what's kind of stalled a lot with what happened with Apple on the iPhone, and maybe slowed sales a little bit because 18.1 wasn't released yet, and it was kind of crazy. I understand Apple's trying to get excitement with it, but they went a whole month, at least a full month, of not being able to do anything in the real world, not in beta, without being able to take advantage of some of the Apple Intelligence features. So I think now at 18.1 is out. Tim was interviewed and said they're getting great feedback from customers and developers that they're seeing some traction with that, and I think the adoption rate for iOS 18 in general is going to go up a lot higher now that that is out and people will be able to utilize Apple Intelligence. So,
Dave, it's interesting you mentioned that because a couple of the questions were about Apple Intelligence, and Tim had to say the obvious thing: it's been out since Monday. And so, people are excited and people are,
Monday, that's 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's like, okay, so again, I respect what you're saying, Jeff, but,
now, now that question, yes, absolutely be annoyed by it because come on, 3 days and you're expecting Apple to have all this other info for you? No, that's not how it works.
I've been given permission to be annoyed. Thank you.
You are welcome.
So, anything else you want to add about the earnings call? I think good numbers. Apple continues to thrive. The market had a little bit of a rough time today, so the stock did drop, but that's okay. That's with the way the markets goes, up and down. You can't expect it to be always up, but I think Apple's still moving forward steadily, and it'll be interesting to see where they go once. Like I said, we'll talk about the Macs with the M4 releases shortly here, and it is definitely going to be interesting to see what the next quarter results come out with. So yes, like I said, we're going to have a little bit of in touch with Mac this week because, like I said, there was just so many announcements that were made with Macs. I thought it'd be great to discuss what was announced. So it was interesting the way Apple did this because they had not done it this way before. So instead of having an actual announcement, and we, like all of us like to do, is we sit and watch the announcement for an hour and listen to what they're going to release. And well, no, Apple this time did a little differently. They already have these pre-recorded videos, and I have links to all three of the videos of the releases in the show notes. But they announced them individually in the first 3 days of this week as we record. So they started off with the new iMac. It was announced the latest 24-inch iMac, which brings the M4 chip to the all-in-one display. It's got about 1.7 times faster performance, and the base model now includes 16 gigs of RAM. Yay! That's standard across all Macs now, which is long overdue. Good riddance to that 8 gigs of memory of a device that does nothing for you anymore. So you got at least a base of 16 gigs on all Macs this way now. It does have the Thunderbolt 4 ports, and it does support a lot of the great things here, as well as a 12 megapixel front camera with center stage desk view support they've added on these Macs. So this is great. And you got 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports on the higher end models, of course, up from 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports. And you can pre-order it now. They'll start shipping on Friday, November 8th. So that's pretty amazing that was announced. But this one was the one I was really excited about, is the new Mac Mini. Mac Mini was completely redesigned. It's like about a 5x5 size Mac Mini, really tiny in size, and dramatically smaller footprint, enhanced connectivity, and significant performance gains. You go from an M4 chip all the way up to an M4 Pro chip with a 14-core CPU or 20-core. And you can go up to 64 gigs of memory on the M4 Pro model, and now 16 is standard, like I said. But you got Thunderbolt 5 ports, so you're gonna be future-proof for later with Thunderbolt 5 with that. So, and the base price on that starts at $599 with the M4 chip. What a bargain, honestly, for someone who wants this entry-level Mac and the kind of a performance this is going to have. So before I move on to the MacBook Pros, I wanted to hear everybody's thoughts on these two first. And I'm going to start with you, Marty. iMac, Mac Mini. I think you have a Mac Mini in your future.
Yeah, there is a Mac Mini coming in my future, November 8th. The iMac, I have one iMac in the household. I'm not even sure it's an M1, but it sits in a bedroom that my wife used to use it, but she doesn't use it anymore. She's on her iPad. With visual issues, the iMac, we had to blow everything up as big as it could go for her to kind of do her thing. And she just doesn't go on there unless she absolutely has to. So I don't feel any need to replace an iMac as a machine. The Mac Mini, I'm excited about. I'm excited about the form factor. I'm excited about the potential of portability. This is something I could throw in my backpack and take with me where I'm going, and have my, fully functional computer with me. You can do that with a laptop too, but I just like the idea of the portability of it. So I ordered one with the intent of replacing my office Mac Mini with this new form factor Mac Mini. And over the week, or over the time since I've ordered it, I've had some different thoughts. The university has given me this terrible Dell laptop as my computer of choice for my office. So I might just take that in my office, stay with my portable Macs for when I have to go into the classroom, and take the new Mac Mini home and find some servicing point for it here instead.
Yep.
So I got a M4 Pro chip, 12 core, 16 core GPU, 16 core neural, 24 gigabytes, and I only got the 512 gigabyte SSD.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing that too.
So, yeah. So I went up on the Pro. I went up to the Pro chip, and looking at how much actually goes on the device. I don't put movies on it. I don't put media on it. At least for my
external drives
office
for it.
work. So yeah. So I went with the 512.
Okay. Chuck, your thoughts on the iMac and the Mac Mini on what they announced?
You made the comment that at least one of these can be viewed as an entry-level Mac, and I'm still just blown away by what entry-level Mac can mean now compared to just a few years ago.
Yeah.
These are phenomenal machines. We would have killed for these machines three or 4 years ago, and now they're considered entry-level Macs. So I just think they're phenomenal values the whole way across, and they support multiple monitors, not a lot, not a massive number, but they can really be the hub for a true workstation at home workstation environment or home office workstation environment. They've got more than enough power, and of course, the big question is, how will Apple Intelligence, as it advances, perform on any of these? But we have no reason to believe that the performance will be terrible or bad or a less than stellar experience. So I think it's a matter of just figuring out what your budget is, what you're going to do with it, and which form factor applies to you, especially when it comes to the Mac Mini. Do you have a monitor at home or two that you might be able to press into service for that? Or do you want to spend the money and get that really gorgeous iMac and then maybe pair it with a 27, 28, or even a 32-inch secondary monitor?
Right. And Jeff, how do you think on the iMacs and the Mac Minis? Anything in your future?
Not from these, but that's only because I need a portable Mac.
Yeah.
Um, so the iMac, I look at what they did for the updates, and it says to me, yeah, we're just giving you the necessary updates that we need to roll out on this computer. And it also says to me, hey everyone, this is your basic consumer computer right here. Just all in one and you're done. The new Mac Mini, this is the really interesting machine. And
Yes.
even with the M4 as opposed to M4 Pro, knowing full well that you're giving up some of the graphics performance and you don't get the Thunderbolt 5 ports without the M4 Pro chip, but this is where Apple's saying, hey, those of you that are doing serious work, you need a desktop Mac. Here, you can have it. Oh, by the way, you can throw it in your backpack, or if you have cargo pants, pop it in a pocket even.
Yeah.
Um, seriously, this is an amazing little computer. And if if I didn't need to have a portable Mac, my next Mac would be one of these Mac Minis.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. I mean, it's I was leaning towards going on 1 terabyte because I've got two I have two M1 8 gig of RAM Mac Minis that I'm going to trade in, and they're giving them a really good, pretty good for a low end Mac like that for $230 each. So that's got nice credit towards buying this M4 Pro. And I think I agree with you, Marty. The 512 gigabytes fine. I got so much external storage all over in front of me here. What do I need to spend the extra $200 for 1 terabyte when I already have the storage? And like you said, I don't put a ton of media on on the drive as it is, so it's mostly just driving it from just applications and usage. So
Yeah. I am so grateful they only had 3 days and they didn't have a fourth day where they brought out a new studio.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I was going to address that because you just mentioned that in our private chat and a Zoom chat here. I think the biggest thing that's going to stand out is, and yeah, I think there was a something that was mentioned to the fact that this Mac Mini M4 Pro is so comparable. Even if you were to max it out and put 64 gigs of RAM on it, that's the max you can put on it. It's a pretty gosh darn good machine that's very comparable to what the Mac Studio does now. Because the Mac Studio, what is that? I believe it's only an M1, right? Or is it an M2?
that's M2.
M2. Oh, yeah, that's right. So the only thing that people were questioning because of being, creators is the fact that the front ports of the Mac Mini are only USB-C. They're not Thunderbolt. So you can't do high speed connections on the front. You got the others on the back that are Thunderbolt, but not those two in the front. The other thing is with photographers, some who still use cameras and they want to use SD cards, being able to have that slot in the front of some of the Macs or even on the rear on some of the Macs as well don't have that. So that was a couple of the notable things potentially with that. But the thing is, I think the Mac Studio could also become a possibility with the M4 Max too, which they may consider. But that hasn't been there's been no discussion at all about that, and I think it got ignored. I mean, even the Mac Pro, the big desktop, that's way behind on what these are. But let's face it, the M1 and the M2 chips are still gosh darn good machines. They still have some really good performance. And Apple really doesn't. Really is it something that the normal person is? If you got an M1, like this M1 MacBook Pro I have now is still working great, and I've had it almost 3 years now. So but that's what I'm saying. Go ahead, Marty.
Yeah, it goes back to what Chuck said earlier on. It's like we are so pleased with the machines that we have now.
Yeah.
I've got a Studio Ultra that I'm running here, Ultra 1. And I'm glad they didn't come out with an Ultra upgrade because I'm going to sit and when the next one comes out, it might be easier for me to sell the Ultra back and just get a fully amped up Mac Mini.
Right.
And I went ahead and priced that. I went ahead and checked what I would get for the Ultra at this point with that. And I'm not sure I need any more capacity than that. And I'm not sure I can drive any faster or need to drive any faster. so the chips have gotten so good and the processing has gotten so good. It's like,
It is. It really
I
is.
can't do stuff that requires all of that that's possible. So why keep going?
And I may even make this Mac Mini my daily driver only because, I've got a MacBook Air that I use to travel with all the time and this MacBook Pro 16-inch why not? I'll save so much space on my desk, not having this big 16-incher sitting on my desk next to me here. But, we'll see how that goes. It's so hard because, like you said, a lot of us, we'll talk about MacBook Pro in a minute, that we really like that form factor, but it is still a pretty heavy weight when it comes to the size of that. I will mention before we move on to the MacBook Pros is the fact that they did finally release the replacement Magic Keyboard and Magic Mouse and the Magic Trackpad now is USB-C. So did you already get it?
I would like all of it to turn over to USB-C, but of course the power charge is on the bottom.
Yeah, on the Mac, the Magic Mouse still on the bottom of the mouse, but at least they've done that. But it was discovered that you have to. It is only going to work in Sequoia with these USB-C.
Oh, really?
Devices, yes. I do have an article in the show notes about that. It is going to be limited to that, unfortunately. So you have to be updated to actually 15.1 and to not have any problems with it. So to be aware of that as well. So definitely interesting. And I have it's in here from 95 Mac, a PSA. Update your Mac before buying that, because if you have an older Mac that does require 15.1, 15.1 will probably be on the Macs as you get them. So I know maybe it's just incorrectly listed or if not compatible. That's what they say so far. So we'll see where that goes. But again, at least they did it now. I don't find this. I mean, the fact that it's nice not to have to deal with this lightning connector anymore, but do we have another compelling reason for me to spend another $149 for the Touch ID Apple Magic Keyboard, where this one works perfectly fine for me? That's, I think you have to question that. What you think? All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the MacBook Pros. So that they did announce the 14-inch and the 16-inch MacBook Pro models. It's working, and they're exclusively for the M4 Pro and the M4 Max chips, along with a entry-level 14-inch MacBook Pro powered by the M4 chip. So you're putting it all across the board here with what people would like to get. The 14-inch MacBook Pro with the M4 is still a 10-core CPU, 10-core GPU, and up to 1.8 times faster than the 13-inch MacBook Pro with M1. When you like tasks like editing gigapixel photos, while more demanding workloads like rendering complex scenes in Blender are up to 3.4 times faster, according to Apple. And the other thing is, oh my gosh, 24 hours of battery life that Apple is touting. That's probably that is the longest ever in a Mac. So of course we talked about memory. 16 gigs is unified now standard. You get three Thunderbolt 4 ports, up from 2 in its predecessor. That's awesome. Support for up to 2 6K external displays, even with the laptop lid open. And of course, you got the colors like the space black option. I really like that color. And then that was only exclusive to the higher end models, but now they're going to put it across all the models here. So the M4 Pro and the M4 Max is going to include 3 Thunderbolt 5 ports, which puts the speeds out to 120 gigabytes a second. But of course, that's still new, so you're not going to be really going to be seeing that for a while unless you're going to spend some pretty serious money on some of the, especially drives. And it does support for native DisplayPort 2.1 output, and they've improved the display. It's got 12 megapixel center stage camera with the depth view for simultaneous face and desk visibility during video calls. 14 inches up to 22 hours of life, and 16 inches 24 hours of life. And I think there's some good compelling reasons to do a little bit of an upgrade. And by the way, the MacBook Air now, which is still on an M3, that's the one I have, is now increased at standard for 16 gigs of RAM with no price bump, that's pretty awesome. So Apple, you can get the base model for $999 and you get 16 gigs RAM with it. So about time, Apple. So Chuck, and you are now. I know you're itching to want to post a chance to get another MacBook Pro here. Where's your thoughts on what their announcements were on that?
This is kind of what I've been waiting for. I've resisted the urge through the M2 and M3, and now we've got the M4, and this is the one that will run Apple Intelligence. And you've got the M4 Max chip sitting in there. And one of the big differences, at least for me, will be that it can drive up to four external monitors, as well as the internal screen. So, that's more than most people need. I don't know that I need the horsepower. I was seriously looking at the Mini Pro and trying to do some statistical comparison, because right now I'm running an M1. Let's see what I'm doing, an M1 Pro, or no, M1 Max in the laptop. So I think I've got to stick with that just to support the monitors, and of course, it won't hurt for video rendering and all that by any means. I'm still fighting with in my mind with the 14 versus 16, because I've been doing a lot more business travel recently. And I've been taking a couple different Macs with me, my main driver, my M1 Mac Pro, but also a 14-inch Air. And the Air's great, but it does get a little cramped when you're used to having lots of monitors, and then you're reduced down to that one. So I don't know. I've got some pricing to do and some comparisons to do, but I've tried to reevaluate. I just think I still need, like Jeff, to have a mobile machine that is my primary device, so that my production environment goes with me. Because if any of you have tried to maintain the same production environment on two machines, it just ends up being a lot of hassle because of updates and licenses and everything. No matter, I mean, the App Store is great, but not everything is on the App Store, and especially some of the utilities we love. And so, it's just out of convenience. I just may just standardize on one machine, and then let those secondary machines be more dedicated secondary machines, or they don't have to have everything installed.
Yep. Jeff, now that you just bought your MacBook Pro not too long ago, so you're in the M2, I think it is.
Yeah, I bought an M2. Okay. I guess we're coming up very quickly on 2 years for this one.
Yep.
And I'm glad I have the M2, because the M3 actually felt like a step backwards to me. And if I was in the market today to buy a new Mac, I would be getting one of the M4 Pro models, because that'll do everything I need. And well, it'll do more than everything I need, really. But going with the standard M4 doesn't make sense to me, because you're giving up the Thunderbolt 5 ports, and all the other things that you've already listed that you get as part of the Pro and Max. So yeah, if I was going to buy a new Mac today, it'd probably be a 14-inch M4 MacBook Pro, M4 Pro MacBook Pro. I think that's a really nice upgrade for the for their mobile computers, and finally they're addressing the shortcomings that they introduced, which I can't figure out why, with the M3 models.
Yeah. So you would go with M4 versus M4 Pro, huh?
I would go with M4 Pro.
Oh, Pro. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But not Max.
No,
not Max.
It's, when I do my video stuff, it's on my iPad Pro anyhow. So I don't need the Max on my laptop.
Yep.
But the Pro will be more than enough for what I need.
Yeah. And Marty, are you looking at any MacBook Pros at all?
Yeah, I am looking, and I actually put a trade in for a Apple M4 Max chip, 14 core CPU, 32 core GPU, 36 gigabyte unified memory, 1 terabyte storage. So I kind of looked at what my current device was and what I needed in terms of storage and
Mhm.
use cases. Because if I do some video or audio stuff on it, once it's done, I take it off of it, put it in the cloud, or store it somewhere else, so it doesn't sit on my laptop for a long period of time. I went
Sure.
with the silver just
Yeah.
because I haven't had a silver in a while, and I have a black one, and I just don't want to. I just want to switch it up a little bit. So
Okay. A couple notable things I will mention. Interestingly enough, unlike iPhone 16 models, Apple's M4 Max will lack Wi-Fi 7 support. So that was an uninteresting find. So they aren't going to have Wi-Fi 7. Not that Wi-Fi 7 isn't really, it's out there now, but I don't see a lot of people going out and running out and spending lots of money on their new routers than the Wi-Fi 7. It's got 6E, which is perfectly fine. That's what I think most of us here have. I have that with my Eero. So I don't think that's a huge deal breaker when it comes to that. And they, like I said, I mentioned they did upgrade the cameras in the center stage and also added desk view. The displays on the MacBook Pros are going to be brighter displays for outdoors, as well as even dimmer and lower light. So they've had some improvements there. We talked about battery, and you also can now get the nano texture display for the first time on a MacBook Pro. So I don't know how important that is, because that's what they added with the iPad Pros, where you could get that nano texture display. I mean, with the anti-glare. Probably nice thing to have, but it's a bit of an added expense. Would you see any benefit in that for you, Jeff, if you get the nano texture display?
It's funny that you would say that, because I was just sitting here thinking about the nano texture display, and yes, I would absolutely do it. After when Apple went from matte displays to just glossy, it really bugged me. And yeah, I dropped the $150 on the nano upgrade. But at the same time, I'd be pissed off because now I have to pay $150 for what the display just used to be anyhow.
Exactly. So like I said, I have links to all three videos that Apple with their announcements on all three Mac lines. So I thought it was kind of fun. Didn't you guys think of this way of doing it was probably better? I don't know, than what we've been used to in the past with one big, large announcement. Any thoughts on how Apple approached this?
Sure, I have thoughts.
Yeah.
After all three of these videos came out, my thought was they could have done this as one big event,
Yep.
and it would have been fine. However, they really, really, really wanted to talk about Apple Intelligence. So by breaking it up into sections as individual videos, they can include Apple Intelligence in each one. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's why they decided to do this event this way.
Anybody else want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I will. I liked it. I mean, because I feel like in some of the past big events, inevitably, different products kind of get short shrift. That the ones that are mentioned early, they don't get the same respect, time, consideration, focus, because everybody's waiting for the thing that's coming at the end. If it's in past iPhone announcements, that when they talk about a watch upgrade or something, that it's borderline filler. And here there was no filler, unless you consider Apple Intelligence filler. You got a focus on each device that they focused on. Sorry, on the given day. So I would love to see them do this more. These announcement weeks or events that span multiple days for that reason. It also gives the tech press time to really analyze and dig into some of it a little more. Whereas before it felt like, you were just bombarded with, because every outlet out there felt like they had to publish multiple articles on each part of the announcement, big or small. And here it just felt like a nice steady stream that we as consumers and even as Apple fans were able to digest a little bit easier.
Yep. Go in the chat here at youtube.com/intouchwithios. Nice to see Bob Beach in the chat. You're up early, late. It's got to be like 1 a.m. UK time if I'm thinking, if my calculation is right. But glad to have you in chatting with us tonight. And Bob just wanted to mention, so he says he liked the three separate videos. So I guess we have another yay with that and with that as well. So good to see you, Bob. Appreciate you being here. Let's go ahead and if anything else, I think we knocked this out of the park here a little bit with the Macs. There was a lot of great announcements, and you'll be hearing more because I think all of us will have our new Macs pretty soon here, or not all of us, most of us. So. I want to go talk a little bit about iOS 18.1. Of course, that was released this week, so now you have access to Apple Intelligence. Everybody has it. Did everybody here who doesn't run beta are you all updated to iOS 18.1? Have you done that just yet?
Mm-hmm.
Did you wait, Chuck?
I waited, Dave, because I was traveling a bit this week and I will be next week, and so tomorrow's my day, because that way I'll have the full weekend to go through and fix anything that would give me any challenges. The good thing is I haven't heard anybody complain about this upgrade. So, but I'm still one of those that just, you gotta be careful when you do it, because my phone is my lifeline to the world. And so if that goes, then, I go down for the count.
Chuck, I'm having weird problems, like little things, not showstoppers. And there are a lot of the same problems I experienced in the 0.1 update. I cannot keep my Mac set so that it will unlock with Apple Watch at all. Yeah, I know. And I think it's actually a networking bug on their part, because I'm connected to Ethernet with Wi-Fi as a secondary connection, so that handoff and everything else works. And I think there's a networking bug that's preventing the Wi-Fi thing to do its thing when you have multiple network connections. But it's little things like that are cropping up for me.
Okay. Yeah. So nothing I have to worry about.
Probably not.
But I think a lot of improvements across the board here. And then, of course, with all the Apple Intelligence, you have the writing tools where pretty much nearly everything that you type and allowing you to rewrite, proofread, and then summarize text in the app you were working in. And, of course, this also applies to Macs. Sequoia 15.1 and now supports Apple Intelligence as well. You can rewrite suggests different versions of your text, so you can choose which combination and then flow of wording you like best. And proofreading is available, and summarize as far as writing tools. The S Lady has a new look. The glowing light, I've been kind of liking that glowing light. Have you guys liked that yet? Because it's kind of weird too on CarPlay, because when I say S Lady, and it's like, oh, that is kind of cool to see it light up on your car on CarPlay. So I think it's cool, because I always hated that little round flashy light that they had for all these years. I think this is kind of cool.
Yeah, in CarPlay, you can tell when you've got the S Lady's attention. Whereas in the past, it just looks like a little moving icon down at the bottom.
Yeah. So you can do type to S Lady as well, where if you don't want to speak, you can just double tap it at the bottom of the screen, so you can use it to type things in. Conversational context is maintained over the course of the session as well. Product knowledge helps you get answers to thousands of questions and features and settings of your Apple products. That's kind of cool. I haven't tried that yet. Voice enhancements S-Lady sounds more natural, expressive, and clear. I've noticed that because I changed it to using the female voice for English, and I kind of like it. My wife on the other hand didn't like it because you're so used to how that voice was for all these years. I think it's much clearer, and so improvements with photos. I'm still on the fence with photos. I don't know about you guys, but photos I'm struggling, especially on the iPhone, trying to navigate to try to find things the way it's laid out. I got to spend some more time on it. I give a plug for Jason Snell. Go take a look at that Take Control books of photos. He has a great book that he wrote on photos. So you got to read up on it and get things used to on photos. But it does let you search photos and let you find photos very simply by describing what you're looking for. And then you got the cleanup feature where you can remove distractions in your photos. And the memory movies can be created by describing the story you want to see. I haven't tried that yet either. That is going to be kind of cool. Notifications, summaries can be made easy when you catch up on your notifications. Glanceable summary. You got smart reply in mail and emails, so you can quickly respond to messages and suggested responses. Priority messages in mail understands the context of it. So really got some improved there. And then camera control, for those you have the 16, iPhone 16, you got that button. That's great. And then you can quickly switch from the true depth camera on the 16s. And the spatial photo capture, that'll help you along with the spatial camera, especially with Vision Pro. And then finally, AirPods. I know we talked about this. I think we talked about this last week about doing the hearing test. I started trying it, but then there was too much noise, so I in the room, so I aborted. But I'm going to go try it again here. And Marty, you said last week that you had slight hearing. It told you.
Yeah, it
loss?
said. Let me correct that. It said no or slight. So I'm going with the no. However,
with the
my
no.
wife refuses to believe it.
Yeah, that's right. So that I think they're this across the line. Boy, this is just a lot of stuff that they've done and some improvements on iOS 18 with 18.1 that is really interesting. Anything else you guys want to add that you've used so far on 18.1 that who is running it that stands out for you that you like?
The summarized notifications, where I'm in a WhatsApp group where people get rather chatty, and all of that gets summarized on the notifications right on the homepage, and I can go okay and kind of move on.
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier during the quarterly results, Tim Cook did say that users are adopting 18.1 about twice as fast as 17.1 was last year. So you are seeing some adoption really quickly. So I think that's a great thing when it comes to that. So anything else you guys want to add about the Apple Intelligence that comes with you?
I just am dying to get
Okay.
into visual, the visual intelligence and the playground, because the app shows up as a little cat icon. And that's where you'll find the new Memoji kind of functions, the visual intelligence, and all the goodies that they've been talking about. And the like I said earlier, the adoption rate has been really slow, and I've been checking it and looking at stuff through Reddit to see if people are still having problems. So
yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting for sure. One news story stood out to me this week. Parallels Desktop. I've been a user of Parallels for a long time. I'm going back many years. If you don't know what Parallels Desktop is, the ability to being able to run virtual windows on your Mac. And I find Parallels to be probably one of the better choices. I like to be able to have Windows on my Mac, so I don't have to be using a PC if I don't want to, and at least be able to have access, especially on support and being able to look at things. And and you can also install Mac OS in Parallels as well if you want multiple versions of that to test. But now with Parallels tools, you now can have access to the Apple Intelligence tools on Windows. It allows you to be able to when you're running on Mac OS 15.1 or later, you can take advantage of the writing tools in Windows apps. What the writing tools it'll use, the users can proofread, rewrite text, and make them more user friendly and professional, concise. So pretty much what you're already getting on the Mac is bringing it into Windows too, using that tool without having to pay for things like Microsoft's Copilot. So what do you think, Jeff?
Once again, Apple's the best platform to run Windows on. That's kind of
is.
funny.
Well, I mean, back in the Intel days when people would use Boot Camp and want to boot your Mac right into Windows, a lot of times people would do that.
I remember encountering people who were buying MacBook Pros just so that they could wipe them and install Windows, because they're like, it doesn't matter if it has an Apple logo or a Dell logo or whatever. What matters is that I'm getting the best hardware I possibly can. And it turns out that's from Apple. I install Windows and run that as my only operating system, and I have the best laptop I could ever imagine.
Yep. What do you think, Chuck?
I echo Jeff's sentiments. We've been, and I know that we're all seen as Apple fanboys, but we've been saying this for years, that it is a superior machine. If you have to run Windows, okay, but you can do it in parallels and enjoy some actual benefits from it because it's on a Mac. So kind of, why would you buy one of those Dell machines?
Well, you
I asked that
your
question.
company would.
My company does, yes.
Yeah, or your university would.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of complaints about people who have to use those machines as their work machines, and they have Apples they have Macs at home, or they're carrying around an iPhone or an iPad, but they still have to use the Dell machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's nice to be able to have Windows with you on two machines in one, and most things can work. I mean, it's the ARM-based version of Windows 11, works perfectly fine. I mean, it may have some minimal limitations, but I haven't found any. You can still run it, and Parallels has come a long way. I think in version 20 now is what they're on now. I have to imagine that 20 versions of Parallels. That's how long it's been around. So they've really done some mass improvements with it. Did you have any other thoughts on this, Marty?
I tried to do Boot Camp once and tried to run Windows through Boot Camp and just found it. Who am I switching into? Which way am I going? Now I gotta, I want to open up something in Outlook, and then it throws me over to the other half with Boot Camp. It was kind of I finally said, no, I'll just live in two separate worlds. And luckily, most of what I can do, there's no exception, including running Teams I can run on my Mac. So I don't need to have a Windows machine to do the work that I do.
Yep. Lastly, I wanted to talk about briefly is there's been no love with HomePod. There's no, and then some things that have also changed with HomeKit. Being Jeff, you do a lot of stuff with the HomePod and HomeKit. That Apple did introduce HomeKit 7.2 that introduced a lot of new features in iOS 18. Have you taken a look at any of those features in HomeKit what you use in your environment?
No, but here's why. Apple, get your act together with HomePod. My HomePods are still trying to update.
Really?
Yeah, like so that would have been what, Monday? So 4 days ago, as I'm updating everything, I started the HomePod updates, and it's been working on updating for 4 days now. And yeah. And this is even with the HomePods, unplug them back. I should check and see if it actually has completed the updates. Because, maybe it has, and it's just not like it finally got around to it. Let's see. And then I can start playing with these and see what just doesn't work well.
Oh yeah, mine hasn't updated either. It still says at 18.0.
I'm at 18.1.
now
Okay,
it's
mine
downloading.
finished today.
I guess I needed to go in there and make sure that's what's the stinky thing about that is I literally had to go in there to look to see if it was updated. It should if you have it set to automatically update, it should update. So
Yeah, and then if you even if it's automatic update and you go in and say just do it now, it shouldn't be this process of screwing around with your HomePods over the course of several days trying to get it to actually work. But it's done now, so I can start playing with the new features and then complain about them later.
do you have HomePods, Marty? I don't recall.
No, well, I have HomePods, and they don't get turned on very much,
Okay.
just because I live with the A lady, literally, Aileen, and she just doesn't want. She just doesn't want music in the background. So unless she leaves the home and I feel like jamming out, I don't. They're back on the table behind me, but I don't get to use them as often as I'd like.
Marty, if you say,
upgrade, okay.
Marty, if you say, hey, lady, turn on the lights. Does she turn on the lights for you?
No, any automation that I have, the A lady goes around and manually turns them off, which is also why I don't use the home app.
That's an energy saver feature. It's built in.
Wow, it's built in.
No, I gotta tell you, the A lady does go from room to room and leaves lights on, and then I'll walk around and see them and turn them off because I was raised to turn lights off when I left a room. And she always says, "Well, I'm coming back into the room. Why did you turn it off?" But let's not get into my domestic issues here, okay?
Okay, Marty, this is like you make a sandwich and you put the knife on the edge of the sink, and then someone comes and puts it in the dishwasher, and then you're like, "Why did you put that in the dishwasher? I was going to make another sandwich." Like a knife on the edge of the sink is the universal symbol for I'm going to make another sandwich.
No, it means that there's stuff left on the knife that you don't want to clean off before putting it in the dishwasher. That's what it means.
Okay.
See, now we're getting down to the root of your relationship problems.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
my
We're
gosh.
making progress now.
I think on that note, I think it's time to wrap up for this week.
You lost control, David.
Yes, I did. But this was a great show. I really appreciate all of you being here.
with Marty's feelings. I love this show.
I think I have a show title. So thanks.
She will never
for
see
all-
it anyway, so go ahead.
Thanks for all of you for being here. This was a great show. We had a lot of great discussions. I'm so glad we were able to hit on some of the Mac stuff that was announced this week, because there is some great Macs in our futures, and lots of great new choices that Apple's done, especially the Mac Mini. I'm really going to be can't wait to get my hands on that. So, but for now, let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon. It's at intouchwithios at techhangout.social. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, which is Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/intouchwithios. It was great to see Bob Beach, and we saw Paul Berry, and lots of others that are on the chat. Really appreciate you being here this week, but you can join us live and be able to watch and listen to the show. So you can also watch the current and past live streams. I leave them up there, and you can go listen to past shows on there as well. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show on your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there on that website. I am Dave Ginsberg. You can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud. Chuck Joyner, thank you as always for being here. We really appreciate it. Where can people find you?
You can find me at macvoices.com. That's where you'll hear everything I do. You can also find me most Tuesday nights. We're going to be dark this coming week because I'm otherwise occupied. But Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV for Mac Voices Live with Dave, Marty, Jeff, and a lot of our other friends. On pretty much all the social media, you can find me as at Chuck Joyner. I'd love to hear from you, no matter what you have to say. Thank you, David. A lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. And Jeff Gamet, so glad you were be here this week, as always. Where can people find you?
Well, thank you for letting me continue to join in. This is loads of fun. All right, so when I'm not standing on Chuck's porch with my pillow bag waiting for the good candy bars, not the fun size ones, you can find me on social media as Jay Gamet, and that's on all of them, but I'm active on Mastodon and Instagram. Then for shows, Chuck is incredibly patient and potentially a saint because of his level of patience. He lets me join in on Mac Voices Live on Tuesdays, and Saint Dave, here I am because anyhow, thank you for letting me join in here on Thursdays. In Touch with iOS. Then on the British Tech Network, big show on Thursdays, Mac show on Fridays. Brian Chaffin and I do Context Machine, and Patrice Brendamore and I do Retro Rewatch, and we have a couple bonus episodes coming up starting tomorrow.
Excellent. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Marty Gensius, thank you for being here. Where can people find you?
Jeff, how do you feel about, fun-sized milk dud boxes?
I'm totally fine with that because I can't eat them anyhow.
Oh,
And
okay.
Milk.
Yeah,
Oh,
the milk
right.
part of milk duds is a problem for me. But no, seriously, if you're gonna do it right. Get the movie theater size boxes. But then you only give them out to the people you like and keep the smaller ones there too. So now you can do the passive aggressive things depending on which of your neighbors brings the kids up to your house. Just saying.
Okay, Marty. Where can people find you?
You can find me here on Thursday nights with the gang here, and also Tuesdays with Mac Voices Live. A podcast and video stream that I do with Eric Bolden on video profiles, vision profiles, which records on Monday at 9:00 Eastern time. Find me at Gensius at mastodon.social, and a new project we just started last night called Old Mac Gang. And everybody here probably knows some of these folks. They're from Mac user groups, and we're talking about apps and services that are important to retirees. So short shows over a period of time, just to kind of tap into that group. So
you've become a podcast machine there, Marty. But I look forward to also joining you for the first time on Vision Profiles.
That's right.
To give you my views on my 1 month now of my Vision Pro. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's right.
So,
we're seeing you on Monday night.
Yes, look forward to it.
Hey,
but
Dave,
go ahead.
Before we go, I've been looking at it all night. Marty, is that a Vision Pro pen?
Yes, it is.
A Vision Pro pin. Oh,
Pin.
Yeah.
Yes. I keep seeing it as he moves, it flashes at me, and it's like, okay, what? I'm intrigued. Where did you get a Vision Pro pin?
That was an Etsy thing.
I had a feeling.
Really?
Yes.
All right.
And,
we'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get out of here. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everybody for watching. We really had a blast doing this show. We always enjoy it. And we'll be back again next week. But until then, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll talk again soon.
Milk dud.
There you go. I just found Vision Pro pin at GlitchBits, $10.
That's where I got them.
Okay. I might have to order it.
Chuck, the link is in the chat now.
Yeah, I see it.
Even more reason that Chuck has to buy a Vision Pro.
Well, if Chuck and Dave send me their address.
I tell-
I will send them I mean, Dave did, excuse me.
I
If
did.
Chuck and Jeff send me their address, I'll send them a Vision Pro pin.
Oh, I thought you were going to send us a Vision Pro. Darn.
Oh, you.
No.
Oh, you. You're going to
Chuck,
send me
you
a
got to
a
start
pin.
somewhere.
Given the price of my proposed laptop, I think it'll be a little while before a Vision Pro hits.
They do have some cool pins there, Chuck. You should look at some of their other stuff.
Yeah, well,
too.
and Marty, I'm sure you saw it. A Vision Pro sticker, new Vision Pro
Yep.
stickers.
Yeah, I got some of those.
You know, I thought all of you had my address already. But-
Jeff, I don't think so since you moved.
Oh, well, okay, hold on. I'll fix that for you right now.
I don't have it either.
Holy crap.
Just posted right
All
there
right,
on the YouTube
I'll
channel.
say goodbye to this
Yeah.
live stream so we don't have to be talking about this anymore. Talk to you later. Live stream. See you.